Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to the Creative Parlor. I'm your host, Michelle Farley. Every Tuesday, I will interview a creative so they can talk about their creative journey, how you can be inspired, hopefully learn something new, be inspired, and then go live your creative dreams, or however that works. Today, I am super happy to have Charles Hairston of Phases Films. He is many things. I call you many things every time I talk about you. So I'd say filmmaker, what is it? Director of photography, a whole slew of things. But Charles is the founder and creative director of Phases Films. It's a content creation agency with a deep love for visual storytelling. So welcome, Charles.
Thank you for having me.
For sure. So I wanted to get started and basically ask you a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you get started? Pretty much, like, who are you?
It's an interesting story. I went to school for. I'm from the Linden area. I'm from Ohio. Born and raised. I went to school for video game design, and I was like, I'm going to make video games. This is going to be amazing. And then I got to the coding aspect of it and was like, nah, this is not for me. Like, I just don't want to look at zeros and ones the whole time. And I kind of fell in love with photography and video. And then I did a couple projects for OSU, and the rest is history after that.
Okay. So I know sometimes I talk about on this platform or different creatives that sometimes we have our 9 to 5 and then what I call our 6 till it's done. So your business what are you currently working on, and then what do you want to see it grow into in the next 5 years?
Current projects, I have a lot of client projects that will be taking up a lot of my time that don't allow for too much of my personal work, but I do have a few personal projects going around and then some collaborations. The personal project I'm working on currently is this storytelling aspect about just talking to creatives, kind of like this, but more of just a one-off, not live situation. And then working on potentially 2 documentaries, one of which we don't have a full idea for, so I'm not going to speak too much about it. And then another one with you, which is Caught in the Middle, which is a great documentary that you can speak to it more than I can. But it's just a fun project that we're telling some very insightful stories about women, Black women specifically, and I'm excited to start for the world to see it, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Oh, that was awesome. And I didn't even ask you to do that. So thank you for the plug. But yeah, Charles and I have been working on this document. I had this idea, I was still working for state of Ohio. That was maybe 2-something years ago. And then this whole panoramic COVID situation happened. And then I had kind of put it off, thinking that maybe this wouldn't be the best time. And then I don't know. We actually we worked on, what was that, last summer? We did a short film project.
Oh yeah, the short film
that won second place. I'm super happy about that. So yeah, Charles is a great person to work with. I know sometimes I can have ideas and he's like, okay, all right, let's see how we can pare this down and create what you're thinking in your head. So I appreciate that. So what would you talk, let's talk about people who might be watching like now or catch the replay. They're thinking about getting into this creative space. So maybe it's cinematography or motion graphics. And I don't really know if that's like the same thing or not, or, it's like some things are like homonyms, but what would you suggest someone wanting to get into doing film or making commercials or making videos and maybe not necessarily have gone to school for that? What is one way they could do it? And then if someone did go to school, but now they're currently like doing some other stuff, but they want to get back into it, like how would you, what advice would you give them?
I mean, the simplest answer is just to do it. I mean, it's not a Nike plug or anything along those lines, but I mean, realistically, half the battle is actually just creating the thing that you want to create or creating anything just to start out. I don't think school really is the determining factor of your success in that way. I say it's helpful, especially when you get around a whole bunch of creatives and you can like cross pollinate those ideas and grow something. But realistically, just doing it, being in the community and people seeing your work, because it's really about the amount of how much you create over time, that people can start seeing your past work and start asking you for work moving forward.
That's good. And I'm glad you mentioned too that school may not necessarily be the path that you have to take. Like I know that for undergrad, I did. And I could say that a lot of the projects and jobs that I got didn't necessarily come from the classes that I was taking. It was more so like I started being like an assistant to a casting director and getting in through like the industry that way. But that also helped me kind of learn how to craft scripts that way too, because we had to like use those sides to help people audition. So yeah, there's definitely different ways. Now, what about I know sometimes people think that you have to live in like LA or you have to live in New York and now you have to live in Atlanta. But for people who are creators who live in the Midwest, what would be some of your advice for those people? Those of us who are in Iowa and Ohio and Michigan.
Move to LA. I'm just playing. No, no. Honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal anymore. I mean, still, if you want to be on a blockbuster film, you got to be in New York or LA, right?
Right.
But a lot of it is spread out amongst the country now. Remote. We're doing a Zoom, like we're doing a stream that
right.
is in two different spaces, and people are editing from different spaces. They're filming stuff here and it's making it into a film in LA. I think it's really about your community. It's a lot about the community that the people that that's how like I have a potential project for one of the bigger colleges out there that I could be working on soon, and it was based off of just making friends with somebody and then them going back there. And they're like, hey, like we want you to come in, shoot this real quick. We like how you shoot, right? And I'm like, okay, well, that's how it works. So I think really just making those connections and just producing things and getting them out for the world to see.
I totally agree with that. And I'm like, I have really been on this thing about like you can build your own team from where you are. And so kind of going back to the point, I know like 10, 15 years ago, you felt like you had to like move to LA, meet these people, meet this, manager or this other independent, well-known, director or something, and get on their stuff. And now you just with the help of like platforms like YouTube, like you could put a whole movie out on YouTube or a whole series on YouTube and have your team, people that you work with, your crew of people, in the same state, like Ohio, or like you said, like virtually. So,
I will say that the quote that pops in my head is from Issa Rae, and it was I'm
I do remember that. I know I saw it though. Yeah, but it was like went viral, and she was basically talking about like when she made Awkward Black Girl and her crew.
It was like peer up, get cool with your peers, because you're not gonna be in the same room as Quentin Tarantino or something.
Right, Spike Lee. Like it's not about to.
Yeah, you connect with the people that you know because y'all are gonna elevate each other.
Right. I always think about like Ava DuVernay. Like that's like one of my favorite directors of all time. Black women directors. But I think about like before people knew Ava DuVernay as Ava DuVernay, it was like once she picked up a camera at later in life and started, and before people knew who she was, she just did it because she had the passion to do it. And then she had people along with her who believed in that. So that is it's just inspiring. I always get excited. Like, yes, you don't have to. I wish I would have like felt that way like 10, 15 years ago, but I digress. It's all good. It's all good. So I did want to share your project reel of sorts of like different types of projects that you work on. So I'm going to share that right now. Last week I was so bad with this volume, so if y'all cannot hear, please let me know. All right, so here we go. No, I'm nervous. Okay, I think I got it. Okay. I was so good, sir. And I did really well with the technology. I was a little nervous.
The volume was on point.
Yes, I tested it out this time. I was very good. So let's talk about what kind of services do you offer? Like, I know that we're working on a documentary, but do you do stuff that's like, I don't know if you do like commercials or weddings or music videos, or it runs the gamut?
I mean, I would have to go to the website too to figure this out, but if I had to, off the top, I mean, mainly it's videography services, so weddings, events, streaming, stuff along those lines. We do a little bit of branding, photos, and graphics is kind of a thing that I do. Actually, I did graphics before I did video, so I kind of enjoyed that still, but more of this sketchy handmade thing is kind of where I'm leaning towards right now versus the polished commercial look.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so this was great. I felt like I wanted to, if people, more importantly, I wanted people who were thinking about, following their passion to do film, whatever that may look like, right? On the larger scale, smaller scale, or larger scale, like that, there's still time, you haven't run out of time, that you can find an apprenticeship, or if you want to go back to school, you can do that too, but there's a lot of different options out there. So I have put it up before, but if people want to get in contact with you, they can go to .com,
Yeah.
and then reach out to you that way. And then phases.films on Instagram. Is it that on anything else? Because
Facebook, I think it's like Phases Productions, because Phases Films was taken.
All right. So phases.film, definitely on Instagram. And then, you know, from there, once you find one, you can find them all.
Yeah,
so
you can find them all. I mean, the one-stop shop is .com. So
for sure. All right. So before we go, Charles did mention before, I wasn't going to do it because I was like, this was about you, but this is about you too, because I know that I can be very interesting when I have like a concept idea in my head, but not necessarily like verbalizing. So Charles is just super amazing with this project and the one before, where I'm like, I got an idea. It's a woman and a da-da-da-da-da. And he's like, okay, I think we can work something around that. So this is our, I guess, fall promo work in progress reel caught in the middle. This was a project that I had in mind, like he said, a few years ago. And it really came to me after my mom passed. My mother had stage 4 bladder cancer. She kept it a secret. She moved here with me and my family. It was a whole ordeal. And I didn't really think about how I was feeling or processing how everything was going until after she had passed. And then when I started talking to other people who had similar situations, I felt like a lot of people were going through the same thing, but no one really talked about it because they felt like that's just how it was supposed to be. And so Caught in the Middle went from being just about the sandwich generation and caretakers in the African-American community to specifically being about the sandwich generation as it through the lens of Black women or African-American women, however you want to say that. But yeah, so so this is the clip. So we're going to share it with you now. So initially, when I thought of the concept for Caught in the Middle, it was supposed to be about the sandwich generation and how it relates to the African American community. As we begin to interview people and hear their stories and hear their experiences, more and more of those stories really centered around Black women caretakers in the Black community, and how that plays a part in that. But we also recognize that we need this space to be able to grieve, to heal, and to help other people.
I think we're socialized to be caregivers, caretakers, nurturers, although women can be caregivers and caretakers, and there are times when we're also the breadwinners.
Well, because the commandments say that, you know, Exodus 20, it's the 10 commandments are listed, and to honor your mother and father. And I feel for myself when I look back and I think of all the sacrifices that they made as parents. That is the least I can do to honor them, is that end of life period.
That's oftentimes not the part that's talked about, is the physical toll that caretakers go through. They just neglect themselves. And it ain't because they're trying to, but it's because they're just so concerned with everybody else and making life seem normal that they forget about themselves or they push it off to the side.
Just the obligation, just the thought of like, oh, this is family, you gotta help them out, do all you can. And I had enough means and ability, I guess, the will to do it. So I just did it.
It's funny, you rarely experience people who have a difficult relationship and a sense of duty who don't take it.
There's no plan B. There's no other box to check. What else do I do? What's going to happen if you don't? Who's going to step in? Because you're always the one that does it.
Can I just say, I get so excited every time I see them. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Good.
It looks so good. And then I think about, like, we haven't even, like, all the interviews that we have, like, this is not even all the people to smush that into like 2 minutes. Like, I'm excited. I'm excited. Because there was some months I was like, oh Lord, what have I done? Like, I don't know. Because everyone's interview was so good. And then it felt like it was splitting away and then it's coming back together. And so I think we had something really great. So I'm super excited. I'm super excited. And I'm so glad that I know you're going to blow up. And so I am so glad that I am working with you now. So like 2-3 years from now, I'll be like, Charles, I need a favor. And I'm like, don't act like you don't know me, sir. You did good work. We got some.
I'll be like,
like I'm believing. Like I really feel like we're gonna like, I feel like it's a good story to tell. I think it's gonna help a lot of people, and just kind of have those kind of conversations. We talked about like it's not necessarily about like fixing something, but maybe this is the beginning process of talking about that, right? Like I know we talk a lot about in the documentary just the cost of care for taking care of people, and if it's specifically Black women, then when you talk about like not having the funds to do so, is that related to not having equal pay? So I feel like it's gonna go into a lot of different conversations, and so it's gonna spread out and be a part of greater conversation.
It's a great conversation that we need to have.
For sure. So I'm glad that we're able to do it. I'm glad they're working together. And I want to thank you for joining me today on the Creative Parlor. This was another one of those ideas I had walking around my house. And I was like, I want to talk to creatives and, get their insight and input on different things. So thank you for saying yes. Most of the creatives were like, sure, I'll talk to you on the thing. Sure. Okay. So, and I know we're supposed to meet. So I need to put something on your calendar for that. However, thank you for joining me. Thank you all who joined on Instagram. That was working this time. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy.
I got the notification. I was like, oh, okay, I see.
Yay! I'm super excited. So next week I am, instead of interviewing a creative, I'm actually going to do a live workshop on copywriting, specifically writing product descriptions. So we are in the third quarter of the year. Correct? Yes, we are in the third quarter of the year. And so a lot of you who have products and services who sell products and services, especially around, Thanksgiving and Christmas time, you're probably going to start to change up your website and think about some things or add some products. And you need to have the best product descriptions possible, especially in a saturated market. So I want to walk through my process of how I create product descriptions for some of my clients. And then the following week, we're going to... I'm not going to mention who we're going to talk to. So it was confirmed, but it wasn't super confirmed. So I don't want to say it and then we stuck to it. So, but then after next week, we'll go back into interviews and So thank you again, Charles. People can find you on Phases Films. Until the next time we speak, I wish you all peace, joy, blessings, love, all the beautiful stuff. And we'll talk real soon. Bye.